Are you close to being retired? Are you looking forward to never having to go to work again? My husband is at that point. In fact, he's so close, he got himself a countdown clock to count down how many more days he has to get up and drag himself off to a job he can't stand, and he'll get to retire and he won't ever have to go to work again. I've been retired for a while now, and it's not all it's cracked up to be. In 2009, maybe into 2010, the income that I was getting for myself, I gave that up. We had inherited a bunch of dogs and a little tiny piece of property, which we moved. We moved to that property to be able to take care of those dogs better. And I could no longer work because it was a full-time job taking care of the dogs. So I gave up my income and I took care of dogs for the next 9 years. The last dog passed away 9 years ago in December of this year. So not quite 9 years yet. About 2016 to 2019, I was babysitting one of my grandchildren. What started as a 1 day a week job turned into a 4 or 5 day a week job where I was always with him, always taking care of him, and my other part of my life got put on hold because of taking care of this little one. In 2020, it was all gone. I had no income, there were no more dogs, and I didn't have a grandchild to take care of anymore. And for the first time in my life, I was alone on this 2.5 acre piece of property that we have now. There was no other living, breathing thing in the house but me. And it became extremely difficult to be put into that situation. I was not prepared for it. I had no idea it was coming. I was not healthy. Life had been very, very difficult for a good 10 years or more. My marriage was not in a good place. We were roommates for 9 years. And I mean, it was not a good place to be. And I started YouTube in 2020. COVID came around. We all know what happened during COVID. I ended up having COVID twice. My husband had COVID twice, maybe 3 times. We don't know for sure on the last one. But yeah, I mean, I was forced into retirement. Everything that I had been was gone. And now it was just me.
Phase one is the vacation phase, and that's just what it's like. You wake up when you want, you do what you want all day, and the best part is that there is no set routine. For most people, phase one represents their view of an ideal retirement. Relaxing, fun in the sun, freedom, baby. And for most folks, phase one lasts for about a year or so. And then, strangely, it begins to lose its luster. We begin to feel a bit bored. We actually miss our routine. Something in us seems to need one. And we ask ourselves, is that all there is to retirement? Now, when these thoughts and feelings start to bubble up, you have already moved into phase two.
This gentleman that I've just listened to today talks about phase one of retirement being the vacation. You know, the time when you just get to relax and you're not working anymore and it's just fun and all that. I don't know that I've ever actually totally experienced that. I could say that probably in about 2023, I kind of took a year to play. I fell into this looking for meaning. I fell into what am I going to do now that it's just me? I was trying to become more feminine. I was watching lots of stuff about femininity. At that point, my husband and I had been working on our marriage for a couple of years. We were no longer roommates. And it was just a period of readjustment and trying to figure everything out. Part of what I was doing and trying to be more feminine was to not work so hard because I'm a very competitive, very hardworking person. I used to just get up and work in my yard from sun up to sundown until complete exhaustion. And I thought, well, maybe I was being too masculine because I was working too hard. So femininity set in And my husband really wanted to see me in dresses. I started wearing makeup again. It'd been a good 10 years since I wore any makeup at all. We started going out and having dinner and going on vacations. And I was dressing in dresses way more often. It was so weird because I hadn't had any dresses in decades. So to dress like that, to be like that, that was all new and different for me. It was kind of exciting, to have my husband chasing me again. That had been decades since he had been doing that. So that was fun. And I would make sure I'd be done working at 2 o'clock every day. And I would go hop in our swimming pool and I'd lay out to tan because my husband loves tan lines. And I really enjoyed having him be all over me again. So I was like, whatever I can do to keep this going. But it was really, really difficult for me to be like that. That's not, I don't think, who I am naturally. When I was a teenager, laying out in the sun was so easy. As a 60-plus-year-old, laying out in the sun is hard. It's just so boring. And there's a part of my brain saying, get up and get to work, get up and get to work. And then playing in the pool, that also got really, really boring. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I was always alone when I was doing it. I was suntanning alone. I was in the swimming pool alone. I'd do yard work alone. I listened to music alone. I have a few drinks by myself because my husband is always at work.
Phase 2 is when we feel loss and we feel lost. Phase 2 is when we lose the big 5, significant losses, all associated with retirement. We lose that routine. We lose a sense of identity. We lose many of the relationships that we had established at work. We lose a sense of purpose, and for some people, there is a loss of power. Now, we don't see these things coming. We didn't see these losses coming, and because they happen all at once, it's like poof, gone. It's traumatic. Phase 2 is also when we come face to face with the 3 Ds: divorce, depression, and decline, both physical and mental. The result of all of this is that we can feel like we've been hit by a bus. You see, before we can appreciate and enjoy some of the positive aspects associated with phase 3 and 4, you are going to, in phase 2, feel fear, anxiety, and quite even depression. That's just the way it is. So buckle up. Get ready. Fortunately, at some point, most of us say to ourselves, hey, I can't go on like this. I don't want to spend the rest of my life, perhaps 30 years, feeling like this. And when we do, we've turned a corner to phase 3.
He's not lying. You get to a point where you just don't have any idea who you are anymore, what you want your life to be about anymore. Everything that you thought you wanted, it just slips away. Your body is rapidly changing. Eyesight is going, strength is going, motivation is going. It's so difficult when you get to this point and you're really lost. I was really lost. I'm still lost because I've been going in and out of phase 2 and phase 3. I can't seem to find my footing. And this year has probably been the worst for the decline in my body. I spend mid-fall to mid-spring in my house because I live in Washington. And in Washington, it's cold and wet. And there's like 5 months of a growing season, and that is it. So, because of my age, I'm over 60. Those 7 months that I spend doing nothing physical, I am losing muscle rapidly. I am losing endurance rapidly. And every year when I go back outside to do weeding and yard work and maintenance, I have that much less strength and it takes me that much longer to recover. My first time out this year doing weeding, I just did a little tiny section of weeding. I couldn't walk for 2 days. It hurt so bad. This last weekend, I went out and I did a lot more weeding at one time. Again, I'm still having problems, and it's been 4 or 5 days now. I just cannot recover as fast as I used to, and because I don't stay active in between seasons, I'm just deteriorating. I don't know how much longer I can even do yard work now, unless I find some way of stopping the loss when I'm sitting around doing nothing for 7 months.
Phase 3 is a time of trial and error. In phase 3, we ask ourselves, how can I make my life meaningful again? How can I contribute? The answer often is to do things that you love to do and do really well.
This is where he might have it just a tad wrong, because the things that I have loved doing, being active, working in my yard, playing instruments, writing, doing YouTube for 6 years now, things like that, it's becoming more and more and more difficult to do those things. My body does not want to cooperate. A lot of the things that I have loved doing, my husband has not loved so much. So there's always been conflict around some things, like our yard has always been an area of a lot of conflict. So to do the things that I love doing would mean bringing back some of the conflict in my life. And I'm at a place where I just want peace. I just want peace. So I don't even know what I want to do anymore, because the things that I loved, a lot of them have become tainted and I just don't want to do them anymore.
But phase 3 can also deliver some disappointment and failure. For example,
He gives a few examples in his own life where he has tried different things and they have not gone anywhere, which is my story too. I have tried blogging, t-shirt design, print on demand. I did Instagram and TikTok for a second. I didn't like that. Facebook business account, having some Facebook groups, having my 2 YouTube channels. I don't even know what else I have been doing. Trying to create an income for myself again. And none of it's working.
I love to write. So I created a program called Getting Started on Your Memoirs. That program has met with limited success. It's been a rocky road for me too, and I told you to buckle up. Now, I know all this can sound bad, but it's really important to keep trying and experimenting with different activities that'll make you want to get up in the morning again, because if you don't, there's a real good chance of slipping back into phase 2, feeling like you've been hit by a bus, and that is not a happy prospect.
I spent almost all of 2025 working on all these different little projects, all these little side hustles, trying to make something click. I was up every morning. I was enjoying myself. I was looking forward to becoming successful at something besides being mother, grandmother, housewife. I wanted to make a life for myself. Big problem with my plan was it meant I was sitting right here at this desk for a year. And that destroyed my strength and my endurance and my stamina.
Not everyone breaks through to phase 4, but those who do are some of the happiest people I have ever met. Phase 4 is a time to reinvent and rewire. But phase 4 involves answering some tough questions too. Like, what's the purpose here? What's my mission? How can I squeeze all the juice out of retirement? You see, it's important that we find activities that are meaningful to us and that give us a sense of accomplishment.
Squeeze all the juice out of retirement. He goes on to talk about the different things that he has done, the trial and error. They're really searching for what gives you meaning in life. And I'd say that we're kind of on that path right now, my husband and I. At the end of last year, I think it was December 29th of 2025, we went on our very first weekend. Let's get out of the house. Let's go find something different to do. See if we can't find some happiness adventure. And we've been doing it every week now since then. We haven't, well, okay, we have missed a couple weekends. One because my son was here and I can't remember the other one. I think we were sick. But anyways, we have been out every weekend just doing anything. Anything we can find to do, going to different museums, going to different gardens, going to mansions, going on hikes. I mean, we're just out doing stuff. And it was all because we wanted to find what makes us happy. What do we enjoy doing? Because if we don't try stuff, how do we know what we enjoy? And it's been kind of fun. It's also been pointing back at my own physical health, physical abilities. Some of the things my husband is still able to do because he works all the time and is active way more than I am. I can't do all that stuff anymore. I am just so out of shape, I can't manage. So again, he is giving lots of suggestions for things that you can try in your retirement years. You know, we've tried golfing for the very first time. That's going to be really expensive if we start doing that all the time, because that was like $80 for 9 holes because we don't have clubs. We had to rent the cart, so that could get pretty spendy pretty quick. We are out and about. We are trying to find things to keep us moving and excited about life and all of that. For me, one of the main issues, though, is that it's only on the weekend. By the time I get to the next weekend, anything I may have gained is gone because during the week, I'm still sitting here. I'm still sitting at this desk making a YouTube video. And that takes a long time to record it, edit it. And then in this house, it takes about 10 minutes to upload 1 minute of video to YouTube because our internet here is so terrible. So just doing YouTube is a very long process and a lot of sitting. Like I said, I've tried getting out and doing yard work, but once I do that, then I am out for a few days as my body's trying to recover from the intensity of doing the yard work that I haven't done since last year. So my being in retirement and trying to find a second part of my life, a second thing to pour into. I have poured into dogs. I have poured into grandchildren. I have poured into my husband. I have poured into my children. I have not poured so much into me. And trying to figure out what I can do now at my age, in the shape that I am in, with the things that don't add conflict to my marriage. I really can't tell you what phase I'm sitting in because I feel it all. I feel a huge sense of loss of all the things that I've ever wanted to do, and it's gone now. Yes, I wanted to climb rocks. I wanted to be a rock climber. At my age, I can barely go out and weed a tiny section of my yard. Climbing rocks, that's over. I wanted to walk from here to California. For whatever reason, it just sounded like something fun to do. I can barely go on a 10,000 step walk without my hips hurting. What I wanted, a lot of it is no longer possible if I'm being realistic. My husband, where's his little clock? He has 1,226 days before he's retired. That's like almost 3 years, I think it is. He will retire September 1st of 2029. And he is already going downhill in his own body. We have changed our diet. If you watch my Meat Movement channel, you'll know that we are doing the carnivore thing. I am about 90% carnivore. On the weekends, I tend to slip up quite a bit because we're not at home. And my husband has tried really hard to change the way he eats. He stopped drinking regular soda and went to diet soda. He thought he was doing good, but he just got his blood work back and he is still exactly where he was. He has not improved his diabetes at all. Not at all. If we don't get that under control by the time he retires, he's not going to be in good enough shape to do anything that he thinks he's going to do when he retires.
That's what's possible in phase 4.
So he's talking about the things that could be possibilities in phase 4. Things that you could do to make your life have meaning and purpose, book clubs and bicycle clubs and this and that and the other thing. And that's fine and all, but you have to first get through the phase of not lying to yourself anymore. You have got to get so real with yourself about where your body is at the moment and where your body is headed, especially if you don't stall the progress of the decline. I mean, I'm over 60. Here's my countdown clock. 522 days and some hours. And I will be a senior citizen. This is going to be the most rapid decline I've ever experienced coming up. The lifespan of people living here in Pierce County, Washington is 78 years old. I'm 522 days away from 65. I am getting closer and closer to that end note. In fact, retirement. What comes after retirement? There's nothing else to look forward to, right? Except that decline and the end. What a sobering thought.
And do you remember the 5 losses that we talked about in phase 2? Loss of our routine and identity and relationships and purpose and power. In phase 4, these are all recovered. It is magic to see. Magic. So, I urge you to enjoy your vacation in phase 1.
Yeah, I don't think that I will ever get to have a full phase 1 vacation phase because I am a housewife. I am a stay-at-home wife. My job will never end. I will always be cooking dinner. I will always be doing the dishes. I will always be taking care of the bills. This is never going to end. I never get to fully retire, ever. My husband gets to fully retire. He will no longer have to get up and go to work. He will get to stay home. My job, I never get to fully retire. Therefore, I never get to have that full vacation from what my life was. I might be missing out on something there.
Be prepared for the losses in phase 2.
I believe that I have shifted back into phase 2. Yes, I'm in part of phase 4 where we're out and about doing things, trying to figure out what we like, but I mostly 5 days a week live in phase 2. I don't want to be who I was. Parts of me do. I had a sense of purpose. I was taking care of animals and kids and husband and all that and yard and everything. I was really busy. Last year, I was super busy trying to reinvent myself, doing all this stuff that hasn't worked out. And now I'm back in this feeling of being completely lost, of being in between identities. Who I was is not who I'm going to be moving forward because who I was doesn't work now. I'm not in that phase of life anymore. I'm in a whole new world that I've never been in before, and it's about to get even more complicated. When my husband, when his 1,226 days are over, and he's home 7 days a week, 365 days a year, that's going to be something I've never experienced before. And this will be another video, is this trying to figure out what life is going to be like once he's retired, he's going to go through all the same things that I'm going through right now. He's going to have a hard time adjusting to it. I'm going to have a hard time adjusting to him being here all the time because I'm not used to that. I'm used to just living my nice little quiet life, doing things the way I do them. And when he's around, it gets a little noisier. He takes over and does things the way he wants them. And I don't know what's going to happen come retirement. It's going to be weird and a huge adjustment to our lives.
Experiment and try as many different things as you can in phase 3.
We are doing this now. And this was my idea. So maybe this is that phase 3 thing of just get out there and do stuff. This was my idea. I just needed to find things to do because I am so bored.
And squeeze all the juice out of retirement in phase 4.
I will be a few weeks away from the age of 67 when my husband retires. That is so close to 70. I might have a decade left at that point. My husband will be 66 when he retires, and as a man, the chances that he's going to go before me are pretty high, especially with diabetes. For those of you who are looking so forward to not living by an alarm clock anymore, not having to weave your life around your work hours. For you, the idea of being done with all of that and now your time is all your own and you can do whatever you want. That is not 100% true. Doing whatever you want to do is going to depend on how well you set up yourself for retirement. Are you going to have the funds to go out and do everything that you want to do? It also is going to depend on how well you've taken care of your body until you retire, because that will also determine what you will be able to do in your retirement. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. I really have. And by the time my husband retires in 3 years, where will I be if I don't change? That'll be another 3 seasons of me sitting in the house for 7 months, which might make it so that when I go out to weed my yard it'll be in 2030. In 2030, if I go out to weed my yard and I have not changed who I am at this moment in time, it might take me until the end of the season to recover from a little bit of weeding at the beginning of the season. You see what I'm saying? I have not set myself up well to have a body that can handle all the things that I think I want to do when he retires. Neither has he. We have not set up our finances in such a way that we're going to be able to just go golf every single day. That's going to be way too expensive. I don't know. This might be a cautionary tale, or this might be the biggest turnaround ever. I guess it just depends on what we do for the next 3 years.